What's up, friends? Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of Learn with Flo. I am Lauryn Moore, a functional nutrition practitioner, and I am super excited to be with you guys today. I'm going to continue a lot of the gut series that we were talking about last month, but we're going to make a nice smooth segue from really just focusing on the gut to making sure that we're focusing on more of a holistic view of how the gut impacts other systems, specifically how the gut's going to start to get us into some of these hormone conversations. And so we can't talk about the gut without talking about the liver. The liver is one of the unsung heroes of the digestive tract. A lot of times you hear the words gut health, and I always tell people, I'm like, when I say gut health, I'm talking about starting from the brain to the mouth, to the stomach, to your pancreas, to your gallbladder, to your liver, to your small intestines, to your large intestines. I'm not just talking about your stomach when I say gut health, right? Or I'm not just talking about your large intestine when I'm talking about gut health. So sometimes gut health is kind of used as a little bit of this catch-all term, but know that part of gut health is absolutely through our liver, because our liver is going to be included in one of our major detoxification pathways. Now, the liver has probably gotten a little bit more time in the limelight, especially on social media. And I think that's great. I think it's awesome that we're starting to recognize that the liver actually plays a lot more role than just in alcohol abuse or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Like, those are usually the situations. I can't tell you how many people, when I start with a functional wellness consult, we run comprehensive blood work panels, and I start talking about their liver and their liver enzymes and their liver function, and they're like, am I in liver failure? Do I have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? I'm like, no. Like, that's not what I'm talking about here. What we're talking about is well beyond more of a diseased state, and what happens when the liver is bogged down by either nutrient deficiencies, excessive stress, excessive toxins, excessive gut dysbiosis, all of the things that can impact the way that our body detoxes. There's also some genetic component that goes with this as well too, which is important to mention and manage, because a lot of practitioners aren't taking that into account. So understanding the liver as one of our major detoxification hubs, it does not run well without optimal gut health, but it also can impact optimal gut health. So chicken or the egg a little bit. So I really want to spend some time flipping into the conversation that a lot of practitioners are kind of afraid to touch. And that is this gut and liver connection. Why you're bloating, why you're fatigued, why your hormonal chaos, and even your reactivity to certain foods or certain supplements or certain environmental factors, why it's not really just a gut problem, but it's actually more of a backlog problem. We are not detoxing well. And specifically when we use the word detox, we're talking mostly about the liver. So when we think about, like I said, the liver, it has gotten a lot more social media in the attention in the health and wellness sphere lately. And you've probably heard a ton of different buzzwords around this, whether it's detox, a liver cleanse, even like lymphatic drainage and dry brushing. It seems to be everywhere that you look, which, like I said, do I love the attention? Absolutely. But if someone is out there selling you some magical solution to cleanse your body, kindly look the other way, because while these practices can have their place, we really need to get real about what the liver does, how the liver actually functions, and ask the bigger question of why. Why is my liver not detoxing? Well, because the actual physiology behind it, your little mini trampoline. You cannot rebound your way. You cannot dry brush your way. You cannot juice cleanse your way out of liver backlog. It just doesn't work. And so what you're pretty much doing in that situation would be like sitting in a kayak or sitting in a canoe with a hole in it in the middle of the lake, and you're trying to bail the water out of the kayak or the canoe. It's like, stop, right? Stop spinning your wheels. Like, you have to understand where the leak is coming from in the first place. Like, why are we just bailing out the kayak and not looking for where's the hole? That's what I'm thinking about. Like, what is the ultimate hole? So let's start first and foremost. We have to get a little sciencey, like the lowdown's always going to be a little sciencey because I love this stuff. What can I say? So let's start with how the liver actually works. And let's go for the physiology for just a second, because this is where it kind of gets a little juicy. The liver is responsible, like I said, for over 500 different functions in the body. But the context of gut health and detoxification, there's really three main functions that we want to understand. Number one is phase one detoxification. This is where your liver is going to use certain enzymes, specifically the cytochrome P450 enzymes, to convert any toxin. Now, when I say toxin, your hormones are toxins, pharmaceutical medications are toxins, supplements are toxins, our emotions are toxins, neurotransmitters, as well as like your classic toxins, right? We're talking like plastics, endocrine disrupting chemicals, mold, heavy metals, like anything that your body sees as like, I gotta use this and then lose this, it's a toxin. I'm sorry, I know it's a super buzzwordy, but anything the body wants to get out of the body, it's a toxin. So these cytochrome P450 enzymes in this phase one, the goal here is to take it from a fat soluble state and convert it into a water soluble state so that then we can pee, poop, or sweat it out. By taking it from a fat soluble state to a water soluble state, we make it less reactive. Okay, so it's less reactive than its original form. So we're already starting to talk about, you're like, so you're telling me my body stores toxins in fat soluble states? Yes, ma'am, it does. Okay, so if that doesn't lead you on to like how the body actually works from an inside out, like liver detoxification is a big deal. So we got phase one detox. We go from a fat soluble state to a water soluble state. Phase two detoxification, this is where those intermediates, where those water soluble states, they get neutralized through various processes that kind of sound like a chemistry lab book. Glucuronidation, methylation, sulfation, acetylation. These are all just different fancy ways of saying that we're taking that water soluble state, we're attaching a chemical group to it so it can leave the liver, dump into the gut, and get pooped out. Right? So we say that and it's like, oh, well, that sounds relatively simple. It is relatively simple, but because there's so many steps involved in the process, the more steps means that there's more room for error. So this whole process of attaching a chemical group to it, whether it's attaching a methyl group to it, attaching a sulfate group to it, attaching an acetyl group to it. Do you know how many nutrient cofactors are required here? I'm talking B vitamins, I'm talking magnesium, I'm talking zinc, I'm talking methionine and cysteine and glutathione. Do all of these kind of, like I said, sound familiar? We have to have these nutrient cofactors in place or this whole system is backlogged to the nines. So phase one is take it from a fat soluble state to a water soluble state. Phase two is we have to attach one of these chemical groups to it that allow it to leave the liver and actually exit then into the colon. Phase three is now the bile that is produced in your liver. It packages these things up and it sends it to the gut for elimination, boop, out of the body, and we get to poop it out. That is detoxification. Phase one to phase two to phase three. So understanding that the problem here becomes that if your gut is backed up, if you have extreme dysbiosis, if you have chronic constipation, if you have a lot of inflamed gut or you have leaky gut, which we talked about last week, your bile is not flowing well. You're not pooping out these toxins. And so you're actually going to recirculate these toxins. Instead of pooping them out, they actually get repackaged and sent back through hepatic portal circulation. And guess what? The body stops detoxing. Now you're bloated. Now you're breaking out. Now your hormones are recirculating. You're told you have estrogen dominance. And so someone just gave you a DIM supplement. I'm like that's gonna help. Like, this is not a situation where we need to reduce your overall estrogen production. This is a situation where we need your body detoxing the estrogen that it's making, right? This is not a dim issue, which is why I just like blow my mind all of the time seeing all of the little like hormone hacks out there of like, oh, you're estrogen dominant, here, take some dim. I'm like, hell no, this is a liver issue. This is a gut issue. And I digress. But we have to understand that in this situation, your liver is stagnant, your lymph is stagnant, and your nervous system is freaking out about it, right? It's not because your liver is lazy. It's because your body is actually smart and it's trying to, like I said, protect you from getting these toxins out into circulation. So now that we have a little bit of an idea of the physiology behind it, you're like, ooh, that's a lot more than I thought it was, but keep it super simple. Fat soluble state has to make it water soluble. Water soluble has got to get into the gut to ultimately get pooped out. There's a lot of steps along the way and it requires a lot of nutrients. And if we're out there just dieting ourselves to death and running ourselves into the ground, this whole detoxification process is not going to respond to like a little bit of rebounding and dry brushing. Like that's not what I'm talking about. And you're probably not estrogen dominant and your hormone issues aren't a hormone issue. It's a detoxification issue. Okay. So let's talk then about buzzwords, because this is where things are going to start to get like a little bit coming at you quick. Detox, drainage, liver health, lymphatic support. If you've spent even 5 minutes on Instagram lately, you've probably been told to jump on a trampoline, dry brush your legs, drink things like beet juice, or take some sort of like overpriced binder that's sold out on the market. And while some of those things, like I said, can be helpful in the right context, you're not going to rebound and dry brush or supplement your way out of a liver that is responding to dysbiosis, toxins, and an overall metabolic burden. Sorry, but you can kind of skip some of those detoxing fads because we're missing the bigger question. The bigger question is, why is my liver overloaded in the first place? Well, the first place we have to look is the gut and liver connection. Like this is a two-way street here, okay? So the kicker is that the gut and the liver are in constant communication with each other. Another science term, this is called enterohepatic. Let me say that again. Enterohepatic circulation, meaning the connection between the gut and the liver, they actually share blood flow and they share contents, right? So what goes from one system gets into the next. We actually, if you have leaky gut, you can actually get some of those toxins coming from the gut entering into the liver and overwhelming the liver. Now, also, we can get the liver overwhelming the gut with toxins as well. So this can be a two-way street here. So with that enterohepatic circulation, I always have to slow that down so I don't mumble it. When we have a dysbiotic gut situation, we're going to struggle here. There's a key bacterial enzyme. We measure this in a GI map test, which I do with individuals all the time. There's a specific enzyme and it's called beta-glucuronidase, okay? So this beta-glucuronidase enzyme is what is responsible for you not clearing those toxins out effectively, and you're just re-entering these things back into that hepatic circulation. So I see this all the time on these GI map tests that maybe I'm running on a female who has a lot of those estrogen dominant symptoms. She's got fibroids, she's got fibrocystic breast, she's got heavy periods, she's got painful periods. She's told her only options are birth control and a full hysterectomy. And I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes before we just go ripping out entire organs. Have we looked at her beta-glucuronidase? Have we ran a GI map test on her? What the heck is her liver enzymes doing? Is she just recirculating the estrogen that her body is trying to poop out? And it's like, meanwhile, she's tried all of the supplements and all of the fancy things. And it's like, all she's really doing is this surface level treatment because she thought it was like, oh, I started DIM. And that really didn't do anything. So I started dry brushing. And then I started doing my vibration plate. And I'm like, yeah, those things are cute. But like at the physiology level, are you just recirculating your estrogens all day long? Like, that none of that is going to move the needle. We need to figure out why your liver is congested, and it's probably because of elevated beta-glucuronidase levels that go back to a dysbiotic gut situation. So it all feeds together here, and I just don't want someone to ever sit there and wonder why they feel like the liver supplements they're taking or the estrogen lowering supplements they're taking or the lymphatic drainage session, like why it's not really doing anything, because you're not detoxing, you're recycling. When I say detox, I'm talking it's got to get from a fat soluble state to a water soluble state all the way out into the toilet. That is effective detoxification. And so we need to figure out where is the missing piece. Where's the kink in that overall chain. So some of the things that can really slow down that gut-liver connection, number one, we talked about, if there is dysbiosis, which is really just a fancy way of saying there's too many bad guys or not enough good guys in your gut, your ratio of the microbiome that literally rules the roost is off. So that dysbiosis is then going to create leaky gut. That leaky gut is then going to contribute to the overall toxin burden on the liver, which then contributes to poor bile flow. And here we go, and around and around and around. Like, I just continuously recycle my toxins. I don't actually detox them out. That whole dysbiosis, leaky gut, poor bile flow can absolutely be part of the picture. I mean, have you ever connected together? This is a little tangent, but I've certainly connected this together because I've seen it in practice. Have you ever connected together females who have estrogen related symptoms are also the ones getting their gallbladders taken out? Very interesting, right? There is a correlation and a connection there, right? It's not, the gallbladder is not just living and breathing organ all the way by itself. Those two issues are connected together. So when I see a female, she's like, yeah, I got my gallbladder out, but I also got diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 16. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Like, that makes sense, because I bet when you got diagnosed with endometriosis at 16, they put you on birth control, right? It's like, oh yeah. And it's like, but we didn't really ever ask like why you're struggling with endometriosis to begin with, which is an estrogen recycling issue and a gut issue. And so we just kicked the can down the road. And even though we quieted the endometriosis symptoms, the ultimate dysfunction was still brewing. And so then later in life, I'd have my gallbladder taken out. I'm like, I am not shocked, right? These are all connected together. And that's because we're doing, specifically women, but individuals in general, such a disservice, not understanding how the body fits together like this. And we're just running around spot treating it and then not truly getting to the root cause of anything, which just grinds my gears and why I do what I do. So understand that when we think about the connection here, the liver and the gut are intimately connected. You are not going to just lymphatic massage and rebound your way out of that connection. Also, we have to understand that this whole process is very nutrient dependent. If we are out there running around trying to diet ourselves to death and do keto and intermittent fasting and exercise ourselves to death, it's like without nutrients like magnesium, without B vitamins, without glutathione, without amino acids like taurine and glycine and choline, like your liver cannot process what's coming at it. And so it's like we have to recognize that a lot of our kind of traditional diet culture and wellness trends are not conducive to detoxing. Detoxing is not like fasting. It's actually a very nutrient dense process. So it's kind of like the total opposite. I think it's funny when people are like, oh, I'm detoxing. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? They're like, I'm fasting. I'm like, then girl, you ain't detoxing, because the body requires nutrients to detox. It's just funny how kind of the wellness world kind of plays on some of these words. We also think too, if you're into more of the spiritual connection when it comes to the liver, and you think of traditional Chinese medicine, right? The liver actually is what holds a lot of our repressed emotions as well too. So this is something that often comes up in my work because I love the mental, emotional, and spiritual connection. So are we going to talk about gut dysbiosis? And are we going to talk about beta-glucuronidase? And are we going to talk about nutrient deficiencies? Heck yes, we are, but also repressed anger, resentment, stuck energy. In those more somatic therapies, we have to understand that the liver is a storage tank for repressed rage and repressed grief. So it's like some of these chronic stress and chronic emotions definitely can also be part of why someone is dealing with liver detoxification issues as well too. So not going to dry brush your way out of that one, but like you have to feel it, you have to move it, support the body and metabolize on all levels. That's why at the lowdown and with my lowdown methods, we don't just like start with detox. We have to start by repleting and regulating and restoring your overall capacity. So this is exactly why I created my Renew Your Gut program, because I saw out there such a giant gap in understanding. I'm like, people are going about it in the completely wrong order of operations. I'm like, you can't jump into detoxification. You can't just jump into killing the bad guys. I'm like, nobody is moving forward with a thought process like that. And so that's where I have really noticed my methods and systems providing such different results and different success for people, because I truly understand how the physiology works. And so then we work with the body and we work with that overall pathway. Within the Renew Your Gut program, you do get a GI map test, which is the actual gut microbiome analysis that your doctor isn't ever running. It's the stuff that you're asking for, but they don't have that to provide to you. It's not a tool in their toolbox. So between the GI map test and between the expert guidance that you'll get together, the Renew Your Gut program is just a life-changing experience to actually be able to dig deeper and ask and answer those questions that you haven't been able to get the answer to, which is, how does all of this fit together? How does my whole health story fit together? And I'm not just this series of different segmented parts and pieces. So if you've been curious about, I've been seeing more stuff on the liver when it comes to social media. And of course, some of the baseline practices, which I can't say are like, they're not totally garbage, but if all you think from a liver standpoint, you're like, I just want to do some vibration plate, or I'm going to do some lymphatic massage, or I heard dry brushing is good, or, I'm like, yeah, but when you think about it, like truly what's going to move the needle on the liver is we have to figure out what is overburdening the liver to begin with. And it's probably something to do with gut dysbiosis. It's probably something to do with leaky gut. It's probably a lot to do with bile, probably a lot to do with nutrient deficiencies. And there may even be some mental emotional component of some repressed emotions in there as well too. So if you're interested in digging into all of this and actually getting some root cause answers, click to the link in my bio. It will send you to my website. Right on the website, you can register for my Renew Your Gut program. And I'm super excited to see you guys there.